Hey everyone, and welcome to the Nice Agile podcast. Zara and I created this community to support Agile professionals. So whether you're looking for your first role or your next role, we are here to help. If you enjoy the episode, please like, subscribe, find us on LinkedIn, and please feel free to join one of our sessions that we do each Tuesday at 12 p.m. GMT. Check us out at niceagile.com. Thanks. Enjoy the episode.
Thanks here. Stephanie's going to be our facilitator, probably along with Zara as well. But yeah, Steph, do you want to give yourself a bit of an intro and then we'll go on to our speakers as well, let them introduce themselves.
Sure. I'm really excited to be here again. My name is Stephanie Cully, and I'm an Agile career coach. In my business, I help Agilists land promotions, and with Nice Agile, I help Agilists just land jobs. And in my 9-to-5, I'm a product owner, and a fun fact about me is that I'm a tennis player.
Ooh. Nice. Thank you, Stephanie. Marco.
Okay, and me next. Mark Burville, living in France. Been a developer for 28 years, and then I became a Scrum Master and Agile coach since 2012. Worked a lot in software environments most of my life. And fun fact about me, I don't know if I have a fun fact. Never thought about that. Just training is fun fact, probably. Doing training is fun with me. Maybe. Maybe some people can agree.
Yeah, you're one of the few people who have the PSM3. I think that's a fun, cool fact, Marco.
Oh, that's not a fun fact. That's just a certification that means nothing. But it does mean that you spent a lot of time studying Scrum, I'd say, and maybe more than what's needed.
Sounds good.
Can you give that to me? If it means nothing, I want it. Just transfer it to me.
Yeah, sure, Talupi, no worries. I'll edit it and stick your name on it, okay? And up the number such that they can't trace it.
Awesome. And Florin, would you give yourself an intro? Also, I feel like we want to say a thank you because Florin's letting us use his Zoom account. Thank you very much, Florin.
You are very welcome. Happy to be here. Thank you again for inviting me. My name is Florin. I'm based in Bucharest, in Romania. From 9 to 5, I'm working as a project manager in an outsourcing company, a big one. And besides that, I'm a professional Scrum trainer with Scrum.org and a certified training partner with Sense and Response Learning. Fun fact, I like trainings. But another fun fact is I'm a big football fan, and I do love trance and heavy metal music. That's all from me.
Trance music. Oh my golly, yeah.
Which football team? Here in Romania, I'm with Steaua Bucharest. Now it's called FCSB, but I have some other favorite teams from all European countries and even Inter Miami because of Messi.
All right, Steph, over to you. Do you want to take it off and I'll let you do your thing?
Can I add something? Sorry, Kev.
Yeah, go for it.
Stephanie, so quickly. So I just want to say we are trying to find the structure of our roundtable, Nice Agile roundtable. And usually in roundtable is the structure is like we should mute all attendees and just we are bringing facilitator, ask the question, and we listen to speakers, listen to their perspective. But at Nice Agile, we have different idea also because our big goal is to support our people, our friends, our attendees. We wanted to provide weekly environment that when they are job seeker, they can join on some Agile activity. So because of that, we are not muting our people and attendees. And instead of that, we are guiding and asking you when Stephanie or me, we are asking question. First, we are trying to listen and learn from Marco and Florin at the first time. But if you have any idea to add related to that question, please share it. But if you have another question, new idea, just keep it in your mind or put it at the chat box. We will talk around it later, like 10 minutes at the end of session, we talk around that. That's it, and we will finish this session just 3 minutes. We will 3 minutes at the 3 last minutes we ramped up, and I will take some screenshot in the between. Thanks again for everyone who joined, and yeah, Stephanie, over to you. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Sarah. So Marco and Florin, my first question for you is, at what point does a product owner start thinking like a product leader? And what's the shift that needs to happen to get there?
That's a great question. As Scrum.org describes, so moving away from an order taker stance to a decision maker or order maker stance, that will be a shift. When the product owner helps to shape vision, the strategy, product goals, guides the direction, and also is a decision maker about the trade-offs that should the stakeholders do, and also measure the value of the product, something like that. What do you think, Marco, about this?
I think you covered nearly everything. Okay, from a Scrum.org point of view, definitely. I think the only thing that I could add to that right now is I think a lot of people know about the Agile values.
Mm-hmm.
There are only 4, okay, and there's only 8 things to remember: left and right, left and right, left and right. But when it comes to principles, it was something that took me some time to actually study. I had to purposely study it. And so the one principle that comes to my mind here is, I think it's the 5th or the 4th, create the environment. Okay, this principle, creating an environment where people have the tools and the methods and they have everything they need to get the job done. That in principle is really for leaders. So it's more so about being a leader. So I'd say that one thing that product owners don't do if they are not being a product leader is not creating the environment where people can succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they want to be a product leader, I'd say shift into that mindset of enabling people, enabling your team. You're there to serve them. You're there to serve them with what you're bringing to the table. So what are you bringing to the table? You're bringing, as Florin said, the vision, the strategy, the decision-making. And that's what you're bringing, and the value. And obviously, you're hoping to be able to measure that value. And so if you bring your part, but give the space for the team to be autonomous, then you're starting to create an environment which will be more complex for you to handle, but it will be worth it in the long run when people are enabled by you.
Yeah.
How does that resonate, Florin?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree, 100% agree with you. So being a leader, it means to create that environment, get the best of the people. The product owner is a value maximizer of the product. So I think if he or she is able to create this environment, we'll start shifting from how do I make my stakeholders happy to something like how do I help my stakeholders to make the right decision for our product, right? Shifting from, let's say, those are the features that I will put in the backlog with something like what the problems are we trying to solve for our customers, right? So this kind of mindset shifting, I think it will enable this leadership stance for the product owners.
Can I add one thing to that thing that
Please.
You said at the end that was a right nugget? What problem are we solving? And I'd say thinking about increasing those closed feedback loops to learn.
Yeah.
Because the whole point is that you might have a problem to solve and you might have a solution to that problem, but you need to learn as you deliver that to learn and get the data back to find out, did it resolve that problem? What are the gaps?
Yeah.
What needs to be resolved now? So make sure you keep that iterative way of thinking. And I like the way that you added about the stakeholders. It's all about creating the environment where they can take the decisions, enabling them. So product owner to product leader means, well, enabling others.
Yeah, indeed. I hope that answered the question, Stephanie. Or if someone from the audience would like to add something, we'll be happy to learn.
Yeah, I think that really one of the key things that you guys talked about was, instead of what should we build, is what problem actually matters and why. So just talking about the value. But that was a really great answer. Thank you, guys.
Tulurupi is shaking his head, I think. Did that picture move? Do you know that Anuradha is 7 hours behind us? So it's really early in the morning for her.
Where do you see the product owners limiting their own growth, even when the opportunity to set up is there? Or simply say, what usually holds product owners back from growing?
I think we touched on this subject a little bit last time. What's holding back product owners from growing? And I talked about the system within which they are. And that system may not be allowing them to grow. But it makes me bring to the thought of that we're just doing a job. And when we're just doing a job, we're just looking we're looking for roles and responsibilities. And I must admit, I hear a lot about roles and responsibilities at the moment. And I kind of like to see that as a container that's holding people back, because it's like, these are the 3 things that I should be doing, and that's it. And that's my job. And so what would be holding back people in that situation would be where they're not understanding the role, I'd say. I don't know. Florin, what would you add to that?
Yeah, I mean, you touch upon the thing that sometimes and many times in my experience, I saw that the organizations are limiting the growth of the product owners by not having empowered product owners, only order takers, right? So this is one of the things. And also the decision authority is unclear, talking about roles and responsibilities. So the decision boundaries for the product owner are unclear, and basically they are not sure about how much they could decide. This is one thing. Another thing that I also saw is that some product owners are hiding behind the backlog management, like they are saying yes to everything just to please the stakeholders. This is something that doesn't help them to grow. Also, they are not involved with the strategy at all. They are only about the delivery, because, I don't know, top management should deal with the strategy. So they are waiting to be invited to this kind of conversations. They are not provoking those conversations. So what I'm seeing right now, and we had an interesting discussion about 2 weeks ago, with a client of mine. It was something that sometimes the product owner is missing in action. It's always surprised about what is happening with the product. So how can you be a leader? How can you be an effective product owner? How can you maximize the value if you're always surprised you are not there for the teams, for the stakeholders? And basically, you are just asking when I will receive this and that, instead of providing also information about the customer insights, about the market, about the trade-offs, about why something is more a priority than something else, things like that. Those kind of discussions. So Yeah, and avoiding uncomfortable conversations. I saw that 1 week ago when someone said like, okay, let's take that offline, because he didn't feel comfortable to have that discussion in that forum, where actually it was the case today to discuss about that particular situation. So yeah, sometimes they're in their comfort zone, let's say.
I can relate to some of what you said from my experience as a Scrum Master, because you start off maybe in that environment where you're held back and you're being told what your role is. And even though when you change environments, it doesn't mean to say that you stay open to readapt. You kind of like say to yourself, I've done this for 2 years and I know what I'm doing. And then you go into a new environment and then you just, copy paste. A lot of people will just copy paste what they do to actually, because it feels comfortable, because it feels right for them. But it's what they've learned so far. So as a Scrum Master, it took me many different opportunities as a Scrum Master to start realizing, hang on a minute, looking at the past, I've looked at all these missions that I've done as a Scrum Master. So this is relatable to a product owner, whatever role you have. And it's like, there's a lot of contradictions going on here.
Yeah.
Contradictions between one situation and another situation. It's like, well, you do things differently here. And so I'd say, I'd add to that one of the things that makes a difference for me about being adaptable is, first of all, understanding more about me and what it is that I want to do. And that, you'd say that you should know yourself. I mean, you should, but do you really know yourself? Do you know yourself today? Do you know what you want to be in the future? And does what you want to be in the future is more so somebody that you was like in the past, that you are no longer? And that was my situation. When I was young, I was so open and I was so adaptable. And after years, I became somebody very contained. And it wasn't until I realized that I had gone through that then I realized that I was not the person that I wanted to be. And I wanted to be someone that was much more open and flexible as I was before, and excited about the work and excited about learning. So the thing that helped me there was coaching training. When I did coaching training, I learned about coaching people and coaching systems. And that also helped me to understand about myself, because one of the main things that you'd be able to do to be able to coach other people is to completely separate from yourself.
Yeah.
And so you have to be at ease with yourself. So I'd say the one nugget there is actually looking at yourself in the mirror, looking at yourself for a certain time and saying to yourself, am I the person I want to be in this role as a product owner? And start to understand more about how you can be indulgent with yourself and accept change. So going back to what Florin said, having those uncomfortable conversations, I think what people will need in that situation is knowing themselves better to be able to go through that ambiguity and uncertainty and risk.
Excellent. Yeah, Marco, thank you. I found myself in what you already shared. And yeah, that's really true.
I love that you have the insight to look at that. Yeah. I think it's really great that you're able to take that insight and make a change. I mean, a lot of people don't have that recognition to say, let me reflect on how things are going and be more open. But I'd love to touch on something that you both were talking a little bit about when you talked about the systems that product owners may be stuck in, or just I would say like the culture there. So how do you get more involved in strategy when you're working for a company that has more of the culture or the standard that product owners are more order takers?
I could start maybe there, Florin.
Yeah, please.
I think, The biggest difficulty is causing change. Now, causing change is something that requires, I'd say, time and patience. And I'd say that what is important is to create a situation of partnership. I mentioned about this the other time. For example, you have a manager and they're deciding everything and you're not a part of that strategy. So the first thing that you need to be able to do, and I'm going to bounce on Amy Edmondson's work. Okay, everybody heard about Amy Edmondson, psychologist, university? Yeah. Seen, heard, respected, understood. So the first thing that when you're working with somebody that you're order taking from and you want to be involved, first of all, they have to see value in you. And for them to see value in you, I would say the best way that I've done it is actually making myself seen, then making myself heard, then maybe the respect will come, and at some point, people will want to understand me. But if I'm not doing anything for them, they're not going to care about me. So as an order taker, you need to be able to respond to their needs. Coaching questions like, what do you need? How can I help you? I've done this in interviews. I've done it in a 2-step. What are your biggest problems that you need to resolve now? How can I, as a coach, help you solve those problems? So they're challenging questions for people that have problems, but then they see you as somebody that's serving them and helping them. And that's where you get through the stages of being seen, heard, respected, and understood. And then I add 2 things to that: valued and included. Because when you're seen, heard, respected, and understood, you are valued. You can become valued. And when you become valued, you become included. So if you want to get into that strategy, I would say I would use that. First of all, getting seen, heard, respected, understood. Once you become understood and you have a perspective to share and they look for your insights, then you can be valued and then you can start being part of it. There's no magic wand here.
Yes, Marco, great insights. And I will add that you could use evidence. You could foster the relationships with your management, leadership, stakeholders, and provide clarity to earn more influence over time, more trust, right? That would be a great thing. Also, from my experience, I saw a lot of product owners complaining all the time instead of coming with options, right? So a leadership behavior is offering options and reframing, let's say, features which are needed or wanted by some stakeholders, not in, let's say, set in stone items, but in hypotheses to be tested and to understand whether those hypotheses are bringing or not value to them, right? This is, again, for me, part of the leadership, because when you're starting to think to the outcomes and you are starting to use the goals as an anchor, as a strategic anchor, then you gain more, let's say, you will be seen more by the others a little bit, right? Because helping to direct the teams towards the value using the goals, that will be something that it will help to be seen, respected, and achieving those goals in a consistent manner. I think that's also a leadership behavior for a product owner, and doesn't need to have, let's say, much support necessarily from the organization. What do you think, Marco?
Yeah, you mentioned about data and evidence-based management. Of course,
yeah.
When you get the product owner certification, you understand Scrum and how the backlog works and everything. That's great. And I must admit that evidence-based management as a book or a certification whatever you want to do, you can look on just the guide and start to digest it, ask yourself questions about it. When you realize how that connects goals to value, to customer needs, and business agility, and what you can measure, and then start thinking about how you can apply that in your context, whereas they're just a list of example measures that you can use. In reality, in certain contexts, you can just apply any kind of thing that represents value as a measure, as long as it shows the progress that you have the intent to get with the goals. So I did this once with a team, a whole of a department of 150 people. And they wanted to upskill these 150 people in unit testing, because there was a few that had them. So I was thinking about something like iterative, maybe do something progressive, and we'll just count the number of people that went through the process. How many people? So we could say the unrealized value was 100 people, and the current value is 50 people that have gone through the process. And then we would measure other things to see what impact that had with regards to, because it's great just having numbers like quantity of items, but the impact is how many of those actually started training others. How many people have you actually trained? Because when they train people, it's because they've understood things. And it's kind of like that information that helps to go through. So anything simple can be measured as long as it shows the progress and get the feedback of what results that has an impact.
Yeah, great. And also another thing that I want to add is, like, you are not winning yourself, you as a product owner. So you need to build, let's say, a team, a coalition with the other people involved, with the stakeholders, with the developers, with the marketing, sales department, whoever is involved in building that product and selling that product. So I think your influence as a product owner will grow if you are not pushing your own agenda there. So you are pushing toward a common objective that as a company you are trying to achieve.
Really great insights, guys.
Thank you so much. Is there any more adding from our people attendees? So, Stefan, are you happy with me to go for the next one?
Sure. That'll be great.
Okay. So we talk a lot around alignment, but storytelling is often what actually creates a structure within teams and gets people to rally around the idea. What does a strong product storytelling actually look like in practice, and how does it change alignment with the stakeholders? Or simply say, how does a storytelling help team align better?
That's an interesting question. It's quite an interesting question, mainly because we're saying that storytelling is the solution. And it might be. So I would reframe slightly. First of all, being a visionary. And because if you don't have that product vision and you don't own it, and it's part of your accountability to be able to actually communicate it properly, and that communication could be involving storytelling. And I'd say, make sure that whatever solution you use to communicate your product vision, that you use it according to what your audience is ready to listen to. So maybe storytelling, maybe something else. Some people are a bit more direct and they need answers. So imagine if you just said, I have the vision, let's go onto the Copil director board and start telling about my vision. You might actually not last very long in that room, even though you have an inspiring thing to say. However, you need to talk to people depending on the audience that you're talking to and change the way that you communicate, because the whole purpose is to give an understanding. So storytelling can help for certain people. The storytelling I know of is where you have the ups and the downs, and you go and you eventually get to the goal. You have the hero, you have so it depends what kind of storytelling you're using. But being a visionary and embodying your vision and knowing it. Let's take Richard Branson, for example, and Virgin Atlantic. He had a vision of what he wanted to do. He started off young. Okay, lots of people do this. The book Daniel Pink, Drive, talks a lot about different companies that put a ding in the universe and having that vision of what you want to create, whether it be Oracle, Apple, or whatever the big companies are. So even on the small scale, there might not be it might not be easy to define a vision correctly, but you need to have full understanding of what the vision is, and also be able to adapt with regards to if the vision needs changing and you need to change direction. So if you know your vision, if you understand your vision and you can communicate your vision passionately, then yes, storytelling is one way, but the essential is in what I think. There, the vision. Florin.
I agree with you that the essential is in the vision. I do believe that storytelling in one of the biggest skill gaps that I saw in my career with product owners. And I think is really an important skill. A strong product storytelling is just a way of creating shared understanding about the product you are building, right? So right now, for example, I'm working in a very technical, building a very technical product. I'm not a specialist in that field. I'm not understanding a lot of the discussions because they are really, really, really technical. So they are going deep dive into the technical area. But if someone will come right now and tell me a compelling story about the product, without getting into the details, probably I will be more happy than I am right now. Because storytelling actually makes everybody to understand the why behind the product, why we are building this, why we are prioritizing this over that. A story tells the context. A story could take the pain, could tell the pain, could express the opportunities that you have. A good story also could tell the impact of building some new features, for example, impact on our customers. So I think that's a skill that could be developed, and I would love to see more product owners having this skill, because I do crave for stories, for good stories. I mean, I like to go into a refinement session, and instead we need to build this feature, and this feature is important. I like to understand or to be told the story about this is the customer problem, this is what they are facing each day, and this is our proposal for them to build this nice thing, and their life, it will be better like that. After we build this, they will improve their lives like this and like that, and that will be much easier to, I don't know, to get everybody in the same mindset of, oh, let's do this, guys. So
Okay, I'm going to add to that. I love it. So I can see where you're coming from with regards to actually having that storytelling. So yes, one thing that I experienced only a few years ago was when I joined the team and the lead developer told me about his previous project. And he told me about this previous project and he told me why it was amazing. And he told me it was just simple. It was just putting these posts in car parks to actually be able to charge your car or something like that. And he said, and I actually went to see them building the posts and see the results of what was done on the ground. And it was just amazing to see everything that we were doing as an embedded software engineer actually being used in the real environment and the impact and the outcome that that had. And in another example, with regards to not necessarily an agile project, was where the customer that we were working for took the whole team and brought them into the factory. And we had half a day in the factory talking with users and customers and people that are using the things that we're doing and understanding their problems. So while storytelling can actually bring that and bridge that information, I'd go one step further to actually enable that storytelling by getting developers and teams into stakeholder environments and customer environments where they see the impact and the problems themselves. Then you get a common understanding and you can build a common story around that understanding. Because in the end, it's easier to do work when you've defined it yourself.
Yeah.
It's harder to do work when it's defined by somebody else. So I'd say reduce those communication links and get people, let's go back to the fourth principle, business people and developers work daily together.
Yeah, awesome. Great.
What do you want to add to that, Florin, or is that done?
No, I think it's done. I mean, I think I'm still craving for good stories all the time. So yeah, I mean, I mean, always when I'm discussing about some new features or when I'm in the refinement sessions, I'm trying to understand why are we building this, and I'm asking this. Okay, so we are building this. How the future would look like? And most of the time, I don't get a response because people are not able to tell me. And that's for me, it's incredible. I mean, okay, then why are we building this? Kabir raised the hand. Yes, Kabir, please, if you have something to add.
Yeah, I think it's one of the common things that you find, especially in technology. Recently, we're working on a project where we had no idea where to start from. Everyone in the team, and just basically because it's new technology, new knowledge, and I think it was deferred to the product owner to tell us what we're going to build, and then the product owner is deferring to the tech lead to say, well, I've told you what we want, but then you need to tell us how we're going to build it. So it took us a couple of months to, do try and error before we got to a point where people started to understand it, after so many mistakes of this is how not to do it. But then the conversation started to go from just silence in the room where we'll do a one-day workshop and everyone's just, we'll come out of it and like, what's time, wasted time here. But then it got to a point where we're now getting comfortable to have conversations around, okay, yeah, we know what not to do now. And because there were not so many subject matter experts on that kind of project, literally the team is the first team doing this in the whole business. So it was really difficult to find somewhere or someone to lean on. Have you done this before or something? So we're really just working on blanks. But after a couple of months, we started to understand how to build it. We know what we want to build, but it was how to do it that was really, really difficult. And at some point, we needed to get some people on training, just to go out there, get trained, understand how to put all the coding and everything together. But then now we're getting to the end of the project and everyone looked back and like, wow, I think we could have done better if we had done the training before we, and gone on. Yeah.
Thank you, Kabir. thank you for sharing with us. Yeah, anyone else with the stories?
That's not an easiest situation.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think you guys bring up a really good point about making it so people can see what the stakeholders are going through. I would say one of the most successful projects I was on, or project teams, is where I was working on, it was for the capacity of the network. So basically making sure people's internet doesn't go down, that things are stable. And so it was really interesting. They took us to a facility where all of the boxes and like servers and things like that are. And the developers were able to ask a lot of questions. They were able to talk with stakeholders and get to really understand what the difficulties were, talk with network engineers. And I think that just set them up for success in building out this reporting platform that we were trying to create. So I think that's a really great point.
If you're not serving the team, get out of their way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Stephanie. Exactly what I think is important. And yes, it could be storytelling that will help that. And additionally, imagine that new member that comes into the team and hasn't had that visit and hasn't had those conversations, but you've got a whole team of people able to tell him all the stories about the problems that they're trying to solve, and not just the product owner. So enabling that means you're becoming more of a product leader than just a product owner trying to do storytelling. Yeah. So, yeah. Any more questions on this? Okay. Shall we move on?
Yeah, thank you. Many great insights you shared. We have one question, and also we just have less than 10 minutes. And the last question is so important. Stephanie, what do you think? Is it good time to bring the last one?
Sure. So
Okay.
if a product owner wants to grow into a leadership role, what should they start doing today that most aren't doing?
That's a great question, Stephanie. What they should start doing, right? Well, they should start saying no or not yet for all the requests coming through them, and explaining why not. Or if they are saying yes to something which is coming on the way, something new, ask what should we stop doing then? Because we need to balance things. And also start to replace promises with intents. Instead of saying in the third quarter we will deliver feature 1, 2, and 3, could start saying in the third quarter we will exploring those options, and those are the outcomes that we are expecting. And moving to from promises to outcomes, right? That is something. Do you have something else in mind, Marco?
Oh, so many things came into mind. The first thing that came into my mind was getting people into the same room, because if you're saying yes to everybody, and you're not doing it in the same room,
Yeah.
So you're having a single conversation with this stakeholder and you're saying yes. You're having a conversation with this other stakeholder and you're saying yes. And then you're going, how am I going to juggle this? Okay. So, and that means that you just get that huge backlog that nobody will ever develop. So start with regards to ordering the backlog. A lot of product owners order the backlog as per what they think. And I would say, if you get people into the same room to have a conversation about the backlog and order it based upon everyone that is a stakeholder of those backlog items, they're going to maybe start saying, no, my thing is more important. No, mine is more important. And that's where you can come back into, well, what do we expect to gain as an ROE, as a return on investment for on this item, and this item, how much do we expect to gain, whether it be revenue, whether it be profits, whether it be savings. So start thinking about money.
Mm-hmm.
Start thinking about money as maybe the initial way of deciding what value is and getting people into the same room to have the same understanding of value. And that way, instead of ordering it yourself, getting it to be ordered by the people to which you'll be responding to problems. And that way, you will be enabling them to work together as a group. So I would work towards that for the yes to everyone's situation.
Can I add something here, Marco?
Yeah,
Can I add something? So being with everybody in the room, I think it will help to help the others answer to some questions like what matters most now? Why does it matter now? What are we choosing this over that? How we'll know if we're right or wrong? Those kind of conversations in the same room with the other people.
Yeah, and Scrum allows you to do this. It's defined in the Scrum Guide. It's not very complicated. Everybody thinks about doing this in a separate meeting. So work towards doing that in your sprint review, because that is the last moment that you have the opportunity to adapt the product backlog for the next sprint or for the coming sprints. So what are you going towards? What is the most important thing, the next best thing to do? It's all in there, but it's not easy to do that because most of the time we're thinking about demonstrating what we've achieved. When I say demonstrating, not just impact or outcomes, just demonstrating how it works. And sometimes even demonstrating what the code looks like and what did we do to make it happen. So it's not just a demo, and it's not the most important thing. So getting people into the same room is a starter. Getting people into the same room in a sprint review that is of value, of making those decisions on a regular basis. And with the developers involved, because that means that you're bringing two worlds together, the customers and the developers, and you're letting them meet and understand each other.
Totally agree.
There's probably other things that you could do.
I think you could do to maintain a high degree of transparency, right? About the decision making, about the trade-offs, about the market, about the
absolutely,
yeah, things like that as well. Yeah, talk to the users on a regular basis, not only with the stakeholders but with the actual users of your product. Understand them.
Yeah, and have a business sense, because I think there's business management studies you can do to understand, the ins and outs of business and making money, and be able to have those conversations with people where money matters and they've been doing it all their lives. So maybe that means actually reading something or learning about something, but definitely evidence-based management is a great start, I'd say, again, for working towards that way of delivering value and understanding how to define value.
Yeah.
And you mentioned hypothesis earlier, Florin.
Yeah.
Let me just add to that. A hypothesis. It's what we believe.
What we believe, yeah.
What we believe the value is. We think we're going to make 100,000. Okay? It's a hypothesis. We think it's going to work. So we do it, and then we measure to say, oh, we didn't make 100, we made 80. But is that enough? Yeah, it's enough for this subject. Let's move on to the next one. Instead of trying to scrape for that 20 extra that we believed we could get, there's maybe something else that's more valuable to do that will be another 50 or another 100. So understanding, being able to actually juggle. And like I say, those kind of decisions are best with the stakeholders. So
Yeah, and don't look at the 80 instead of the 100 as a failure. I saw that.
absolutely.
I saw that. No, actually, I saw that. So they believe that implementing something and review something will get them 100 and they get 80. And everybody was blaming everybody because they didn't make the numbers. So guys, that was a hypothesis. You start from zero. It's a plus. It's not a minus. You didn't lose money, But
but it's also what you learn from it.
And what you learn.
So the hypothesis needs to be measured. I think that was Ryan Ripley and Todd Miller that said, when they were talking about hypothesis, that you could have in your definition of done as far as learning from the actual value that was delivered. So maybe it's about response times. You think that what your optimization you're doing in the software will gain you 4 seconds in optimization, but measure that and see what it did give you. So what did you get for the value of it? And then multiply that by the amount of time gained by the operators using that per day, per week. So measure that value when it's to do with performance. So that's what I'd say is tying it back to real value and hypothesis of value. And the last thing on that, a goal is a hypothesis of value. A vision is a hypothesis of value. You can call it epic stories, whatever you want. They are hypotheses of value. And even when you finish the software and you have a usable increment, it's a hypothesis of value. So remember, it's a hypothesis until validated. And look up how to frame hypothesis. Rewrite your user stories differently.
Yeah, to be customer-centric and outcome-based.
We're aligned, Florin. So does that help answer some of that question? Because I think there's about 100 different responses we could give.
It does. Yeah, that was a really great response from both of you guys.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening and watching the Nice Agile podcast. We hope that you enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, share with a friend, find us on LinkedIn, check us out at niceagile.com. Thanks so much.